Pachika Buddhas, so following on from yesterday, and yesterday we talked about the solitary realizers and its 4 exceptional powers. And so the mind of wisdom abides in the Dharma, benefits all life, and exercises patience. And obviously, why do we need patience in the Dharma? And it relates back to its journey of immeasurable distance, and therefore it's a gradual progress. So you do not, sometimes because our desire can also apply to desire for worldly things, but at the same time, we also have a lot of desire for spiritual attainments. So that desire, so you've got to watch yourself as well, because then that desire will propel you that you want to learn quickly without even realizing. And that is all about knowing and understanding, but very little realization. And that's what I mean by this patience that one should have. So we need to patience, we need to be firm and solid. So mirror wisdom can reflect and extinguish deluded karma, which will come to later. This is about clearing the dust on the mirror. And one must explain so that we can reflect the worldly things and what's happening in the conditions and understanding the Dharma. This will help us decide to be decisive about conditions, called discerning wisdom, to be able to distinguish right from wrong. The Master's explanation is all about cultivating loving kindness, and so maybe I must apply in impartial wisdom. So in this about it's impartial wisdom. I'll come to that in a moment. Let me go down to this part first. So in the cultivation, obviously they have a lot of habitual tendencies in ourselves, and so to do that, we must be able to, number one, not only just to discern about the Dharma, but be able to know ourselves. And it's important. Unless we know ourselves and admit that we have shortcomings, we will never change. Okay, so and also at the same time, when we're in practice, we are still under a lot of external conditions we have to deal with. So we need to be protected, if you like, and that we need to have that shield so that we do not fall back to our own habitual tendencies. Now, Master mentioned here about courage, how we can subdue our heart and our mind. So all this influence, if we understand that, is about the desire in our heart and an emotion in the mind, and that's what we need to guard against, right? From the whatever that stirs us up from the external conditions. So for my practice, and this one is personal for me, I use courage and strength. It goes together. So the courage is to be able to walk ahead, having faith and aspiration. At the same time, the strength is the effort that I put in to display that courage. So wisdom, we all have mirror wisdom in our minds. And so we wipe clean the mirror so that we can reflect the external condition, that we understand things and as to what is right and wrong. So in this, the discerning wisdom is to understand right from wrong, but in impartial wisdom, we can demonstrate our mission of benefiting sentient beings. But the impartial wisdom, actually, to my understanding, is a part about the absolute wisdom. You see, in absolute wisdom, and this may sound a bit confusing to you, there's no right and wrong. Okay, and that's absolute wisdom. Discerning wisdom, that is a boundary to discerning right from wrong. And the absolute wisdom that one understand, that impartial wisdom, there's no right, there's no wrong. And that is the part that ultimately, and it's a full wisdom that the Buddha realized. So we will, as we achieve our spiritual practice, we will not be afraid of making any mistakes as we engage in a spiritual cultivation. That is provided that we have the courage, and for me, the courage and the strength to be able to practice to understand yourself. So to understand yourself, you need to understand your heart, you need to understand your mind. And so the thing that we need to be watchful about, especially for us as householders, this grasping nature, the desire in us, and that is also spiritual attachment, if you like, so as much as there are worldly attachments. The sutra verse and the master's explanation in here about the Pajika Buddhas, which I won't run through here, and because the sisters already shared about this. So important just to note that Pajika Buddhas, they have already learned in the past. There's a reason why they are in a position to observe and contemplate and realize only from little things. So one realization of one truth will lead to the next and will unfold. So practice of Pajika Buddhas, they obviously they're solitude. They like solitude, and they enjoy tranquility to learn and observe, as what Sister Stephanie said about the home brother. And so these are the practice that one is engaged in. So 12 links of causation, this is what the whole understanding of the interdependent arising in the Vapachaka Buddhas. And that's the vehicle that they are engaging, because if they understand this 12 link causation, they understand all the conditions that will lead for their understanding of the Dharma. So obviously, this interdependent arising that they realize is there's nothing that arises on its own. And then whatever it arises, at the end of the day, it will cease. And that's what the traveling causation is about. But the problem is for us in life, we can't engage cycle to cycle without getting out from the samsaric cycle. So the hearers and Pajika Buddhas is that hearers only seek to quickly understand, and that's what it is. And that's the reason why I've been mentioning that knowing, understanding, and even understanding is not enough. You've got to realize, and the realization can only come about from observing and contemplating. And it's important that we must grow to be able to contemplate on the truth of the teachings. The sheep cart and deer cart, you've already spoken about that, so I won't touch on that either, because I'm mindful also of the fact that 7 o'clock, there's a diligence day coming. So the lessons learned here is that the problem is that sometimes when we hear, we quickly forget it. So some of the things you can do actually is to go back to your own notes and read back. Do you still remember what you have written? And then that's going to be a good check for you and a good reflection. And that's the reason why every one of us should keep a spiritual diary, so that whatever is learned, you can retain it that way. So you remember the fourfold mindfulness, mind is impermanent. That's the reason why you need to keep that diary. So in contemplation, realize that realization is to realize nothing. When you have nothing, there's nothing to realize. When you are in practice, you realize something. When you are realized, at the end of the day, you realize nothing. And this is the contemplation I want to share with you, the difference between discerning wisdom and impartial wisdom. So on relationship, those who are from Singapore would have seen this yesterday evening. So here it goes. Good relationships start from home. Many try to shape the minds of those closest to them. That's what we do. We shape the minds of our spouse, we shape the minds of our children, we shape the minds of our parents. When the Buddha cannot shape the minds of others, how can one believe that one can shape the minds of others? So you must convince people and do not impose upon them. And that's what living the, so for us, we want to live the exemplary life, our spiritual aspirant, to inspire others. Okay, Gan En, brothers and sisters, thank you.
Gan En, so much, our Brother Chin, for your wonderful summary and sharing